What's up everyone, KingKrabz back again today, and today we're playing some Mono Dragon, which is a really popular type and one's been requested for a while now, and people are really looking forward to it, so hopefully you do enjoy. Not my personal favourite type, but one I do enjoy playing, and I think I found a team I quite enjoy using, so with that, let's jump right into the team and I will discuss my options. So first off, we have Kyurem, and Kyurem is going to be a choice specs Kyurem with max special attack and max speed. Its speed tier is pretty decent and kind of gets the job done where you want it to be, but where it really shines its amazing special attack with 359 and specs. This Pokemon can really make fools of a lot of types, especially water types. With Freeze Dry, it can pretty much 6-0 a lot of water teams if you play carefully around their faster Pokemon. Earth Power is really good for Steel Pokemon, which can give the dragons kind of some hassle, so you will see a lot of anti-steel tech on my team. We have Ice Beam, which is just strictly stronger than Freeze Dry by 20 base, however, it doesn't offer me super effective damage on water types, which is why I personally like to run both, so Ice Beam for pretty much any non-water team, and Freeze Dry for water teams. And finally, Draco Meteor, which is just a pretty nice KO option. It's really strong. 130 base stab, coming off specs 359. It's going to do a lot of damage to a lot of Pokemon, so not many things particularly like eating a Draco Meteor. We also have Pressure, which can be nice to wear away my opponent's PP. Generally speaking, it's not going to do a huge amount because it's not a not defensive Kyurem, so it's not going to want to take too many hits. But that said, its HP is pretty decent at 391, and thanks to its part ice typing, we can actually eat quite a few ice attacks, which is pretty nice for the team. Next up, we have Altaria. And I actually had to go back and refilm or re-record this team preview because I forgot to give Altaria Frustration. I had returned for most of the Showdown live, and I do not want anyone to watch this video, get this far, and accidentally copy return because Frustration, in my opinion, is much better on Altaria. And when you're running Frustration, make sure your happiness is set to 0, as Frustration does more damage based on the happiness or the lack of happiness your Pokemon has. And the reason I would suggest Frustration over Return is solely for the Ditto matchup. So when Ditto copies you, it by default will have max happiness, therefore Return will be 102 base power, and thanks to its ability after it Mega Evolves, so we have Altaria Knight, I forgot to mention this is Mega Altaria, its natural cure becomes Pixelate, which makes Frustration a Fairy type attack, and Ditto can so easily reverse 6-0 you by copying Altaria. With Frustration, it more often than not stops that reverse 6-0, so super important that you run Frustration. Now let's discuss the rest of Altaria's kit. So we have Max Attack Adamant just to hit that nice attack. I think it's 350 after Mega Evolving, which is pretty good. Its speed is a little on the lackluster side, I won't deny that, but thanks to Dragon Dance it does patch up its mediocre speed and makes this thing even stronger. We have Roost for longevity because this thing is naturally pretty bulky at 90-105 defenses, and I think those boost a small bit more after Mega Evolution. And before Mega Evolving we also have Natural Cure. If you want to try and bait in Burns or a Toxic or a Paralysis or something, we can swap out and cure our status condition. And last but not least, we have Earthquake. Again, that is strictly for steel types, which I will be saying a lot in this because I do run a lot of ground coverage. Next up, we have Latias, and I was considering running Choice Scarf Latias because my team does lack the immediate speed control I want, but I kind of like Leftovers as I feel it can nicely defog things. It can also Healing Wish, but also it has Psy Shock and Mystical Fire. Mystical Fire, again, you've guessed it, is good for those steel types in the tier, as well as guaranteeing low in special attack, because this thing is naturally quite specially bulky with 297 special defense. EV-wise, we are max speed, max special attack. I considered making this max HP, just to make it as bulky as possible, but I do like clicking Psy Shock against a lot of types, especially poison types, which can give my team a bit of trouble, which is another reason why I like Earth Power so much in Earthquake on these two Pokemon. Levitate is good for blocking things like Sticky Web, spikes, toxic spikes, those kind of nasty things my team doesn't like, and we have Leftovers for a bit of longevity. Defog is really good because my team does not particularly like swapping on rocks, especially Altaria and Kyurem absolutely hate rocks, while Komodo doesn't like things like Sticky Webs. And finally we have Healing Wish, and Healing Wish is really good because it's pretty much the only team support Dragon realistically has. It's good to swap into something like Altaria or Kyurem, specifically two of my strong Pokemon, maybe Dragonite or Komodo after some Clangorous Souls. So this thing allows me to heal up a Pokemon back to full, which is very good. Next up we have Dragonite, and Dragonite's one of the stars of the show. I think Heavy Duty Boots and Dragonite made this thing absolutely amazingly strong. So much like Altaria, we're max attack adamant with max speed. Again, our speed isn't anything to write home about, it's not fantastic, but after a Dragon Dance we will get a nice boost to our speed. With Heavy Duty Boots we can easily swap it on Stealth Rock and still have our multi-scale, which is fantastic, as multi-scale halves all damage when your HP is maxed. Which is really good because this thing naturally has quite good bulk with 91 HP, 95, 100 defensive splits, so at max HP this thing can even eat some ice moves despite being 4x effective. Moveset wise we have Outrage, and Outrage is great for cleaning up any non-fairy or non-steel teams. You can simply click Outrage, especially after a Dragon Dance, and it's super strong because it is 120 base stab. We have Earthquake again, for steel and poison type Pokemon. You're probably sick of me hearing me say that, but I think it's the last time I'll say it here. And finally we have Extreme Speed, which is I think +2 priority, which is really good for picking off weakened Pokemon, especially if they, for example, my Earthquake puts them in sash range or sturdy range, and they could potentially KO me back. Extreme Speed is really good for that. Next up we have Komodo, and Komodo is kind of stupidly strong. I'm surprised it hasn't been banned in NatDex yet, personally. I think it's crazy good. We are running Komoonium Z, that's a hard word to say, with Clangorous Soul to get potentially +2 to all stats. So Clangorous Soul is new to Generation 8, I believe, and it loses 33% of our HP for +1 to all stats. After that, we can use Z-Clangorous Scales to get another +1 to all stats, while also potentially taking down an opponent. So we have 4 attack, max special attack, and max speed with a plus speed nature. So after +1 or +2 speed, Komodo is very fast and can outspeed honestly a lot of things, even things boosted by Sand Rush or Swift Swim, which is really good. We have Drain Punch, which is really good for longevity, especially because my Clangorous Soul does lose out on some HP. The Drain Punch should be able to drain that back and keep Komodo healthy, especially because it is stab and we have a small bit invested in our attack. We have Flamethrower. I actually apologize, I said it would be the last time I talk about steel types, but we have Flamethrower for those steel types, for things like Ferrothorn. We also have Drain Punch, but I think Flamethrower is generally a very good coverage to have. It beats things like Caesar, Celesteela, kind of scary things like that. And finally we have Clangorous Scales, which I don't want to click too often because it does lower my defense, but it is a really good alternative to Draco Meteor, as it doesn't lower my special attack. It is also sound based, so we have soundproof to block other opponents' Clangorous Souls, or Z Clangorous Scales, my bad. It also blocks things like Boom Burst from Gardevoir, which is super important because that is Pixelate boosted and can otherwise sweep through my team. Last but not least, we have Dragalge, and Dragalge is going to be pretty nice because it is able to eat up some fairy type attacks. Usually I'd go for adaptability, but I wanted to experiment with Poison Point because that thing can kind of punish things like Flip Turn, U-Turn, Close Combats, anything and that my team physically might not want to take. Dragalge can swap in on, potentially punish it with a Poison Point, which does help Pokemon like Altaria and Dragonite get an opportunity to set up their Dragon Dances. We have Sludge Bomb as well, which is really good for taking care of fairies. It also has a 30% chance to poison, which pairs nicely with Poison Point. Toxic Spikes can spread toxic among my opponent's team, again adding a lot of pressure onto them, giving me opportunities to set up with likes of Altaria, Latias and Komodo. We have Flip Turn, as this is a pretty slow Dragalge. It can easily eat up a special attack, especially fairy types, with a massive special defense stat and neutral damage. I could potentially Flip Turn into something faster, like maybe Kyurem, Komodo, Latias for example. And finally Scald, which is there for spreading burns against physical attackers who might not have been poisoned by my Poison Point or Sludge Bomb. And of course we have Black Sludge, which is really, really good for recovery, which pairs nicely with my special defense. So before we jump into some games, I want to ask you, what is your favorite Dragon-type Pokemon? For me, it personally has to be Kyurem Black. I think its design is really, really cool, and it's the giant, scary-looking physical dragon with ice powers is really cool to me. Unfortunately, it was banned this generation, which is why I'm not using it, as it was a cornerstone of my previous ice and dragon teams. But we still have regular Kyurem, who serves a different purpose, but still a very good purpose. So with that, let's pause and be right back and jump into some games. So we have a game here against Mono Flying, and in this game I really value my Kyurem quite a lot. It's very good. I do have to worry about Dragonite, but if they are outraged, they do get punished by my Altaria, so that is nice. I think Komodo has somewhat of a role in this game. Unfortunately, Toxic Spikes are useless, but I think I'm still... I'll open up with Kyurem. I kind of wanted to open up with my Dragalge as they open up Charizard. Now in this I'm going to go into Kyurem. I'm going to go into my Dragalge. I went into Kyurem here. And I'm probably going to try and flip turn, because this is no doubt Mega Charizard Y. It can't be X, thankfully, because it is a mono flying team, so I am reassured in that. And I believe Dragalge should be able to tank most things it throws my way, unless it wants to go for an Earth Power. As that did a lot of damage considering it's not resisted, and I have quite high special defense. That did so much damage. Charizard Y is strong. So we're going to try flip turn here. If they stay in, it lets me eat the flamethrower or whatever comes out with relative ease. And if they swap out, we grab momentum. So either way, I like the outcome we get. Unfortunately, I don't have any great swap-ins to this. So ideally, they do swap out. Now, my Kyurem is especially good in this game to click Freeze Dry, especially once Charizard is gone. Though I can still click Freeze Dry or Ice Beam on Charizard as they go into Gliscor. Great. This is perfect for me. So we're going to go into Kyurem here. Part of me just wants to click Ice Beam because it's stronger, but on the off chance they go into their Gyarados, we'll click Freeze Dry, which did a lot of damage. That is not bad. Again, we're going to go back into my Dragalge here. It doesn't serve too much of a purpose in this game, except for eating the hits from Charizard. And we'll flip turn. The crit's pretty nice there. I could potentially set up a Dragonite, but it doesn't invite in Skarmory, so I'm not going to do that. We'll go into Kyurem. The sun is down, and Freeze Dry pretty much picks up a KO here. Oh, it's plus special attack. Okay, that explains why I did so much to Dragalge. I probably should have calced that or pegged the idea that that's not normal. This is probably Sash, but we're gonna Freeze Dry anyway. I don't think they have anything to want to kill me. The question is, what do I go into here? I think my Dragonite and click Extreme Speed. I think go for Stone Edge and get the crit. Thankfully, because Multiscale is such an amazing ability, we end up living, and we managed to pick off the Gyarados with Extreme Speed. I really don't care if their Dragonite comes in. In fact, if they Outrage, is actually actively better for me. They go into Gliscor. Do I sack my Dragalge? I feel like Latias is also very good against Thundurus. So we're going to sack my Dragalge here and go into Kyurem. Again, in this position, Ice Beam just kind of picks up a KO. It definitely 2-hit KO Skarmory and Dragonite. They're probably going to go for Focus Blast, but I can just Ice Beam anyway. Kyurem is very bulky, so it can live. What's their Sash? Okay, I thought that would have to be like Specs to do that much damage. That is stronger than I expected. I think I'm going to go into Latias here. And I'm just going to click Psyshock. Now again, Dragonite could easily come in, which it does. And what we're going to do is Healing Wish into, I feel like, my Kyurem. And now we can click Ice Beam. I will die to Outrage, but if they lock themselves into Outrage, I can always go into Altaria. As I'm faster anyway, they're not Choice Scarf, and this should end up getting the game. GG. So we managed to win that game there. Kyurem is extremely strong in this matchup. Ice Beam is just flying around everywhere, do so much damage. And with that, we're going to pause and be right back. So we have a game against Mono Fairy, which is going to be extremely difficult for me. I think I have to play my Dragalge very well, but it's not going to be so easy. Though I do feel like opening up a Dragalge and trying to get my Toxic Spikes down turn 1 is very good. As this is most likely Belly Drum, so we're going to Sludge Bomb them turn 1. As if they are Belly Drum, it's not good for me. They could also be Sticky Web Lead. They are Belly Drum. And they'll eat their Citrus Berry here. Thankfully, Sludge Bomb KOs, which is really good because that is a huge, huge threat to my team. Now, unfortunately, I'm not running Hydreigon, which means Tapu Lele is very strong. I'm going to go into Latias here, expecting them to want to Psyshock me. As they go for a Psychic, is that damage scarfed? Let me check. Custom sets. Latias. Tapu Lele. Psychic does 25 to 29. That did 37, so that's probably Specs. That was the lowest roll on Specs, it seems, which is good to know. Now the question is, do they stay in or do I double? I'm going to click my own Psyshock here. Knowing that there's Specs is actually good for me. Part of me wants to try Healing Wish out here, as I can use that later in the game. And we're going to go into Kyurem here. I think we click Freeze Dry on the off chance Azumarill comes in. I'll just click Ice Beam. I think I just want the guaranteed KO. And winning that speed tie is very good for me. Even better is that my Healing Wish is still active, so I can potentially heal up my Dragalge later in the game. Things like Mimikyu are a threat to my team, as well as Tapu Fini. And Clefable, depending on what set it is, so they go into Mimikyu. I think I'm just going to Ice Beam here, as they probably Swords Dance. And the reason I did that is to break their disguise, which is very good for me. Now the question is, what do I sack? Komodo is definitely the sack. It's pretty useless in this game. The Play Rough will definitely KO, as they're not Life Orb. That is good to know. I feel like Dragalge dies to this. Let's just check. Mimikyu. Swords Dance. Play Rough at +2. That is Life Orb. But let's say it's a Z Crystal. Let's say it's Z Play Rough. That is definitely a KO. If this is not a Z Crystal, it's not a KO. What if it's a Z Dart, Z Ghost? Then it is a KO. So I think the best thing I can do here is try bait it out. This is a bad position for me. So I know with Dragalge, I'm going to try and bait out their Z Crystal by doubling to Dragonite. Do I value Dragonite? No, I don't think I do. So as expected, that baits that out, which means I can take my Dragalge back in and click Sludge Bomb here. Now unfortunately this might just be down to a Play Rough miss, because I don't think Sludge Bomb KO is not even close. We do poison them, but it's going to be nowhere near enough. They're going to have to miss their Play Rough here, as they go for a Shadow Claw, which is a very clever play. So unfortunately that looks like it's going to be game for me. If I can dodge and Dragon Dance up on Altaria, it would be very good, as unfortunately they land. GG. Well played on my opponent's part. At that stage, unfortunately, I was banking for a miss. Maybe I could have swapped in and sacked my Altaria, and then swapped back into Dragalge to Healing Wish it up. And then Kyurem could have won, so I think that might have been the play as opposed to trying to dodge a miss. So that definitely was a misplay on my part, though there's no guarantee Kyurem could have beaten Clefable and Tapu Fini. So with that, we're going to pause and be right back. So we have a game here against Mono Fire. This is generally a pretty tough matchup for Fire. However, I do have to be extremely wary in case that's Mega Charizard X, as that thing can really give my team trouble. Part of me wants to open up the Komodo and try to set up turn 1, but I think it might be a bad play, and we're actually going to open up with Kyurem. This kind of invites in a close combat, so what we're going to do is go into Dragalge here, and try flip turn out afterwards. As expected, a close combat comes out. We get the Poison Touch as well, which is quite nice, so what I'm actually going to do here is go for a Toxic Spikes to try and put pressure on the things like Torkoal. Perfect. I wanted Volcanion to come out, which is pretty good for me, so now I don't have to flip turn. And we can try poison this as well. We're doing decent damage, and again I can always Healing Wish back into this later in the game if I see fit. Steam Eruption. I'm going to risk the roll. Please don't burn. It burned. Unfortunate. However, we get rid of Volcanion, and I can always Healing Wish into this later on if I see fit, which is very good for me. The question is this Toxic Spikes even worth it? Probably not. They go into Heatran, and they definitely outspeed me. I feel like Latias does not have too much value in this game. So what I'm going to do is, they crit me unfortunately. We're going to Psyshock once, just to break the air balloon. And again, nothing particularly likes eating this Psyshock. Torkoal comes in, which is probably the thing that likes eating it the most, but we're going to Mystical Fire just once. That did a bit less than I expected. But they are kind of weak on me, so we're going to Mystical... we'll Psyshock. As they get their own rocks down. Now in this position, I kind of want to Healing Wish into my Dragalge. I think it would help, but I'm also terrified of the Charizard. Again, as I said, if it's Charizard X, I really have to play around carefully with things like Dragonite and Altaria. They're taking Volcarona. What's my answer to this? I don't actually know. I'm going to Healing Wish. As they go for a Quiver Dance, we're going to go into my Dragalge. I guess all I can potentially do is roll for a Poison with Sludge Bomb. This shouldn't do too much damage to me. That did a lot of damage to me. I was very wrong. We get the Poison, which is pretty good for me. Now, unfortunately, it means we're probably going to lose my multi-scale on Dragonite, which is unfortunate. Do I risk a Dragon Dance? I think I do. There's no way they can break me in one. And we go for... No, not Extreme Speed. I saw the E and clicked Earthquake. I meant to click Extreme Speed. That would have been a hell of a throw right there. Now, unfortunately, this makes me a lot weaker to Charizard than I'd like to admit, which is tough. But this may actually force out Heatran afterwards, which may let me set up my Komodo, which actually might end up winning the game. So I think I'm in a decent position here, especially if I don't get burnt. If they take a Charizard, I'm just going to click Outrage in their face no matter what. Because if they are Charizard X, it should be able to win a KO, again assuming I don't get the Flame Body Burn, which of course I do. That sucks. This does put me in a pretty awkward position. I think I have to Outrage. As they're clever enough not to Dragon Dance. So that burn really changed the tide of the game, unfortunately for me. Altaria might be able to honestly live one. We'll click Return. It depends what their final move is. We'll be able to live a Dragon or a Fire move as their Earthquake. And we do end up living. Now the question is, can I take care of Infernape and Heatran? I believe Komodo should be able to put in work against them. Honestly, Kyurem can too, especially if we end up breaking the Heatran's balloon. We'll Roost here just on the off chance they go for something like Mach Punch, as they go for close combat, which makes sense. So on this, I think we always Clangor a Soul Blaze. Because we want the +1 and be able to Drain Punch the Heatran, which will put me at plenty of HP to survive. Also, Kyurem will live with Earth Power now, so even despite the Flame Body Burn, we managed to pull through in the end. And it was a close game, so my opponent played very well. GG. And with that, we're going to pause and be right back. So we have a game here against Mono Dark. Some really big looking threats on their team. Crawdont is extremely scary. Hydreigon, Moltres, Greninja. Honestly, their whole team is looking pretty threatening. That said, Komodo was really good in this game, as well as Altaria. And I think Kyurem definitely has a strong spot too. I think I want to keep Kyurem alive in case Greninja gets out of control later in the game. And what we're going to do is try open up my Dragalge here and get Toxic Spikes down turn 1. Now the question is, do they go straight for a knock off and KO me? Quite possible. We just about live and we get the poison point too, which is not bad because these Toxic Spikes do put pressure on my opponent, especially things like Tyranitar, which can be quite scary for me. Do we go into Komodo? I feel like I can potentially set up in Crawdont's face. Is that banded damage? Probably not, but let's just check in case it was. Dragalge, Crawdont. Let's assume your choice band. Knockoff does 107 to 126. Okay, so that is definitely not choice band. We can say that for certain. We're taking Kyurem. And click Freeze Dry. So this doesn't allow things like Hydreigon or Greninja in freely, which is very good for me. I feel like I'll be able to set up my Komodo on something else, potentially Crocodile. Moltres is a huge threat to my team, so I have to be careful. Hydreigon comes in. The question is, are they going to go straight for a Draco Meteor? I'll Freeze Dry here, just in case they don't. Nice. That is a huge threat taken care of. Unfortunately, my Kyurem's pretty weak, and I do want Kyurem healthy for things like Greninja. So what I'm going to do here is go into my Latias. As they knock off. Great play on my opponent's part. However, this should let me click Clangorous Soul here, which they certainly do not like. We're going to go for Clangorous Soul Blaze, just to get the +2 and everything, and it actually might... It probably won't KO. We'll put them in Berserk range, possibly. But with +2 special defense, we might be able to live. Just about, hopefully. The agility, extremely smart play. But I still outspeed. I don't think Moltres typically run plus special attack, and this might actually be game. Komodo is so broken. It's crazy. So that was quite scary play there with the Moltres. Maybe I should have played better. And the crook clicking knockoff was very clever. We'll just Drain Punch back to full HP here. I mean, sorry Tranitar. I don't think there's any way it lives this. And we just click Drain Punch here on the Greninja as well. GG. So that was a pretty close, short game, thanks to my Komodo. However, if I misplayed that, I think my opponent could have easily swept me with the likes of Moltres or potentially Crocodile like they already tried to do. So with that, we're going to pause and be right back. So we have a game against Mono Fairy, which is looking pretty tough. I do think my Dragalge is quite good in this game, though I do have to be worried about things like Gardevoir. Comfey as well is also a huge threat to my team, so I think with that in mind, we're going to open up a Kyurem and try get a KO as early as possible with Earth Power. Now, they could very much be dual screens or T-Wave. It's hard to really know when you're fighting a Klefki what exactly they are. I'm not sure what the best method for killing Comfey is, as we get the crit turn 1, which is pretty nice for me. I'm not going to lie. We do really enjoy that. So I think we need to keep Kyurem alive for the likes of Azumarill, because we will survive Aqua Jet and we should be able to KO with Freeze Dry, especially after a Belly Drum. Now Mimikyu is certainly an issue, as Comfey comes in. Interesting. So I think Dragalge is always my play here. And with Dragalge, we can hopefully set up Toxic Spikes and hope they're not stored power, as Draining Kiss shouldn't do too much damage to me. They go to Tapu Fini. I think I'll try get my second layer of spikes down, just because I do really value Toxic and things like Comfey in the late game, as they are Calm Mind. Good to know. So what we're going to do here is flip turn out. We should be able to eat a Moonblast pretty nicely, as they stay in. Now their special defense is going to be massive because they do have a light screen as well, so that is something I have to bear in mind. I think I'll go into Dragonite, as I believe I should live one Moonblast, and a +1 Earthquake will hit pretty hard. Do I live one? I think I do. I also feel like Dragonite is not too good here in the endgame. Yes. Multiscale is an amazing ability, so we do end up living. And we can just fire off an Earthquake here, which does a decent 45%. I mean, it's not amazing, but it's also not terrible. So considering the fact they are Moonblast, I almost feel like I should sack my Komodo, which would let me get in my Latias and potentially click Psyshock, or my Altaria and click Return, which is stronger. Return is definitely stronger. Does it KO this percentage? It's hard to know. Let's check. Altaria, Mega Dragon Dance, Return versus Tapu Fini, and it seems to be a bulky Fini. Return does 38 to 45, which is not much at all, to be honest. It's kind of poor, all things considered. So I think maybe what I have to do is go into my Latias and weaken it with Psyshock. That's going to fall to a single Moonblast. And the question is, do I value Altaria or Latias more in the end game? I feel like I like Latias to be able to click Healing Wish into my Dragalge. My Komodo is mostly useless, so I'm going to go into Altaria here, and we're going to Mega Evolve into Return. That is a bit more than I expected. Now unfortunately we do end up dying, but this puts us in range of Psyshock hopefully. And I might just have to try and stall them out with Dragalge in the end game, which is obviously going to be easier said than done. I expect maybe Mimikyu to come in. As Comfey comes in. I'll go straight for a Psyshock. That does okay damage, all things considered. They probably go for a Draining Kiss here, so I'm going to try taking my Dragalge. I think I still value HP on the Latias later in the game. They are doing a lot of damage to me. Thankfully, the Toxic will chip them away pretty fast. What we're going to do is flip turn here in case they... Actually, do I just go straight for a Sludge Bomb? I feel like a Sludge Bomb is just a better play. It should KO. And anything coming in gets Toxiced. I still have my Komodo for a sack, and I can always heal up my Dragalge to full HP later, though I don't have much to answer the Gardevoir, which is definitely a big threat to my team. No doubt. So that should end up KOing the Comfey just about. Now unfortunately they're going to get Leech Seed recovery, which really sucks for me because I do value as much HP as I can possibly have on this. If they go into Gardevoir, which they obviously do, I think I have to take in Latias first. Now does Psyshock just straight out kill me? It probably does. They go for a Hyper Voice. Great play on my opponent's part, which probably seals the deal for me. Yeah, there's nothing I can do against this. GG. Well played on my opponent's part. I am soundproof, but I think they can just click Psyshock anyway, and it's not going to make too much of a difference in the end game. I mean, obviously we go for... I'm going to try a Clang or a Soul here, just in case we live. Are they going to a Zoomerl? Interesting play. Do they play rough? I feel like they should play rough. Should I be keeping Komodo alive in the end game for Gardevoir? So if I didn't swap against the Gardevoir and Sludge Bombed instead, it could have been a very different game for me. Okay, this thing is definitely dead. One way or another. The question is, do we value Dragalge's HP here? I kind of feel like it doesn't really matter. Komodo can't do much, so we're going to Flamethrower again. As they end up actually Aqua Jetting me. Interesting play. So it's going to give us the Azumarill, and we do slightly outspeed the Gardevoir. Not that it's going to make much of a difference, as I do think Mimikyu can just KO here. But the game is going to come down closer than I expected. Maybe by some craziness we can play around the Gardevoir, but I strongly doubt it personally. We have to Flamethrower here, unfortunately. We don't have an option. And their play rough will definitely KO me here. As they go for Drain Punch. Interesting. Okay, maybe by some crazy outplay we can actually beat the Gardevoir, but it's not going to be easy. Maybe I shouldn't have said GG so early. I really thought this was over for me turn 15. But my opponent does seem to be slowly choking it away. This is a tough endgame for me. I think I have to go into Dragalge and hope they click Psyshock and Kyurem lives. If they click Hyper Voice, I think the game is over. GG, well played. I think my opponent is smart enough to just click Hyper Voice here. But let's find out. As they actually go for Psyshock, wow. So we managed to just about clutch that game out, which is very surprising to me. I really thought it was lost turn 15 here, but it just goes to show, and I say it a lot, you should never say GG too early. I was not saying that in regards to I thought I won, I really thought I lost here, but it's never, you should never give up hope until the game is actually over. You never know how it can turn around like that. And with that, we're going to pause and be right back. So we have a game here against Mono Flying, and it's really cool to see things like Swoobat and Cramorant. They're pretty cool flying Pokemon I don't see used too often, so I'm very much looking forward to seeing what this team has to offer. Celesteela is a huge threat to me, as well as Dragonite, so unfortunately my Dragalge is not amazing here. I'm going to open up my Kyurem, as my Kyurem is fantastic, but they're probably going to go for a heavy Slam. I'll swap into my Latias. I feel like Latias doesn't serve... does it serve a purpose against things like Swoobat, maybe? No, I feel like Dragonite can take care of Swoobat. I want to keep my Altaria healthy for the likes of Dragonite, which can be a huge threat to my team. And I value Kyurem way too much here, especially if this is Heavy Slam. He's going into Latias. They're Hidden Power, and it seems to be Hidden Power Ice. That's still a lot of damage. Is that Specs? That's Mystical Fire once. As we should live the next hit guaranteed. And now I'm going to Healing Wish out. And I'm going to try taking my Komodo. We know for a Clangorous Soul turn 1. As they are lowered special attack, I don't think Hidden Power Ice is going to KO. Especially after a +1 special defense. That did a surprising amount. We'll go for Clangorous Soul Blaze here. It should let me live Hidden Power Ice because I get a further +1. Now it doesn't KO, unfortunately. Granted, this probably opens them up to an extreme speed on their Dragonite, which is not amazing for me, but other than that, nothing particularly like swapping into this scary Komodo. Let's go for Clangorous Soul here. Oh, as they actually survive, that's crazy. And they are Dragon Claw, not Outrage. Good to know, in this position I could take in Kyurem, but I'm not going to risk them being Choice Scarf for some reason, so that's just extreme speed. And this does open up my Kyurem a lot in the end game just to click Freeze Dry, though of course I do have to worry about Aerodactyl. Gliscor comes in. Let's go into Kyurem. As they Swords Dance. Now assuming they don't win the speed tie, if they are max speed, Gliscor I think often aren't. We're just going to Freeze Dry here. That thing is kind of scary, but that's doing way too much damage. Okay, a stored power is probably coming out here. So I'm going to sack my Dragalge. Into Dragonite and click Extreme Speed again. So long as I feel my Altaria and my Kyurem are healthy, I think I should be able to take care of these two. Cramorant comes in. Let's go into Kyurem. And click Freeze Dry again. So they're going for the Gulf Missile, which is quite strong. But in this position, this does not allow Aerodactyl to Dragon Dance in my face, which is really good for me. So we're going to Freeze Dry again. They kind of have to go for the KO. The question is, do I take in my Altaria or my Dragonite? I feel like my Dragonite's the better play. I Dragon Dance into Outrage. I'm slower. This isn't good. So we're going to Extreme Speed here for a bit of chip. And now my Altaria. Do I Dragon Dance? I feel like I just return. It should KO. GG. Very close game there. I'm surprised Return did so much damage, but I suppose Altaria is quite strong. And I maybe played my Dragonite a bit bad. So with that, we're going to pause and be right back. So we have a game against an opposing Mono Dragon. This is definitely a tough matchup for me. They do not run Altaria, which is definitely good, but it's also partially up to who can get their Komodo set up first. So part of me wants to open up Altaria and Mega Evolve turn 1, which means I do have a Fairy to block their attacks, but I think I'm going to try open up a Komodo as they open up a Duraludon. Now if I can outspeed, getting my Clangorous Soul here would be very good, but they are probably soundproof, which is a very good play if they are. Amazing play on their part to be soundproof, so unfortunately with that we probably have to sack something, and I feel like Dragalge is the sack. Let's go on Altaria here. We're going to click Return. So it seems like Komodo runs soundproof down here. That's their Poison Jab. That did a lot of damage. So I think what we'll want to do is we're going to want to Healing Wish Latias into my Altaria to make it nice and healthy again. Because that, eating this Clangorous Soul there was pretty bad for me. They're taking their Kyurem. I think I'll sack Komodo. They might Draco Meteor here as they go for Icicle Spear. Oh, okay, so it's a physical Kyurem. Interesting. We'll just click Clangorous Scales here. I'm pretty sure they outspeed, and they might even go for a Dragon Dance as they actually let me do a lot of damage to the Kyurem, which is pretty good for me. So this tells me I do in fact outspeed, which is good to know. Unfortunately, I can't risk my Altaria here, so I'm going to go into Kyurem and simply click Ice Beam. Nothing on their team likes taking the Specs Ice Beam. I don't think you eat this, unless you're Sash. They are indeed Sash lead. So ideally, I do not want them like Dragon Dancing into my face. So what we're going to do is go into my Latias here and try Healing Wish into the Altaria. I think that should stop the Garchomp from Scale Shotting, which could potentially win them the game. I'm tempted to make my Komodo soundproof now after seeing that really good tech. Maybe I should do that. I mean, Bulletproof is nice to block things like Shadow Ball and Sludge Bomb. But blocking Komodo is very strong. So Garchomp comes in, and what we're going to do here is Healing Wish to stop them from Scale Shotting into my Altaria, and I should be able to Dragon Dance once here, which should allow me to outspeed their team, and then return should do a lot of damage. Ooh, that did so much damage to me, but return should KO here. And unless one of them is Choice Scarfed, and even if they are, my Dragonite should be able to outspeed a +1. We'll return again. Their Rough Skin won't KO me unless they're Rocky Helmet as well, which they're not. So they would have to be Choice Scarf here to outspeed and win. GG. That was a pretty close game. I think I played the Altaria pretty well, and that Komodo was really cool. So let me go ahead and try that. I'm going to change mine to Soundproof, and I'll be right back. So we have a game against Mono Psychic. Unfortunately here I do not have my Hydreigon, which is usually a pretty good tool for me. And as well as that, things like Tapu Lele are extremely big threats, so I think I want to keep my Dragonite healthy for that. Honestly, if it's Choice Scarf Tapu Lele, it might be bad news for me. We're going to try open up a Kyurem here. Actually, do we value Kyurem? Yeah, we're going to try open up Kyurem and go for an Ice Beam turn 1 as they go into Mew. Part of me wants to Draco, but I do not want to give them free setup on things like Victini. So what is Ice Beam? That did nothing. It looks like that's a pretty bulky Mew for sure. The Tapu Lele is quite scary for me, in fact. Yes, this is indeed a bulky Mew. And I can't even reliably set up my own Toxic Spikes because they do have Galarian Slowbro to eat them up. Okay. On the Stealth Rock, I think I'm going to try go into Altaria here, as I should protect this turn. And we're just going to go straight, I think, for a Frustration, which should KO. Now, if they take in Tapu Lele, thankfully, it's not too easy for them just to click things like Moonblast, because we do have Dragalga healthy. We'll click Earthquake on this. Oh, it's Mega. I did not think that's how the interaction worked, but I wasn't too sure, so I suppose it is. The question is, do we value Altaria here? I don't think we terribly do. I feel like Latios should be takedownable with things like Dragonite, my own Latias. Actually, I could Healing Wish into this later in the game, so I suppose I'll keep it healthy. We'll go into Kyurem here. We should survive one, just about. It's cool. I think I saw it before on Joey's videos ages ago. Okay. Is this Z-Cell Root Victini? It might be, and if it is, it's quite an issue for my team. I'm going to go into Dragonite here, and I'm going to try Dragon Dance. That Slowbro is honestly quite scary for my team. They V-Create. It's White Herb V-Create. Part of me wants to click Earthquake again. Sorry, click Dragon Dance again. I'm going to risk it. They might Ball Strike me, as they go for Zen Headbutt. And in this position, Earthquake should be doing a good chunk of damage. Now, of course, Slowbro does live, but we can always take in my Komodo and try set up in their face if they take in Slowbro. We'll click Earthquake. Tapu Lele is still a huge threat to my team. Wow, we survived. That's honestly crazy. I think a good play for them would probably to be go into Latios, try bait in the Outrage and go into Tapu Lele. Kanto Slowbro at Shell Sun. It's actually crazy. I really did not know how the interaction worked, and it probably isn't how it would work in the actual games, but I mean, this is only a simulator, so whatever. We'll Earthquake here. Wow, that survives. That's really crazy. But on this, what we can do is flip turn with the Dragalge. This would scout if they're Choice Scarf or Choice Specs, as they are neither, it seems. Either way, we take care of the Tapu Lele, which is quite nice for me. And I'm going to have to go into Lati here, because I do believe their Latios is quite a threat. They're probably Choice Scarf. What we're going to do here is sack my Dragalge in case they go for a Draco Meteor. As their Dragon Dance, okay. This is bad. Are they Outrage? Maybe on the off chance they're not a Dragon move. I mean, I don't see why they wouldn't be. Yes, they're Dragon Claw, which unfortunately means I lose the game. If I could Healing Wish into the Altaria, it probably would have been different, but I really did not expect them to be Dragon Dance. That's a cool set. Honestly, it's a very cool team. The Mega Slowbro was very interesting. A physical Latios, I really respect that. That's a really cool Pokemon. For sure. And unfortunately with that, we end up losing. So I'm going to pause there and we'll be right back. And a huge GG to my opponent. They played very well. And we'll be right back. So that is going to be it from Mono Dragon. Hopefully you did enjoy. I don't particularly like ending on a loss, but the last person I played's team was really, really cool, so I was happy to show that off. And Dragon Dance Latios was really, really cool. With that, I hope you enjoyed watching. Mono Dragon was not be my personal favourite, but I can't deny it's a very strong type in pretty much any format you play it in. So it is definitely fun to play with just generally very high BST, and is quite scary, some scary options. So if you did enjoy, leaving a like, a comment, sharing this with a friend, or subscribing really, really helps me out so much. It helps me grow as a creator, and I truly, truly do appreciate that kind of help. And with that, I hope you enjoy. Have a good day, and I'll catch you next time.